is Jonathan Mickles with the Strategic Multifamily Investing Podcast, and I have with me Mr. Harold Hurd. We're chuckling because we have just had an impromptu conversation. It just kind of kept going and going. Harold is involved in a lot of things, like a lot of the people that we've already talked to. Last year, 2023, September 2023, he and I were on a panel. I actually moderated it, had to, impromptu. And he was a part of a panel that we were doing on real estate and blockchain through the Blockchain Real Estate Summit. If you're watching this in September 2024, that's the end of September. I think it's the 25th and 26th. There's another summit that's coming, so I'm pretty sure Harold will probably be on that one of those panels moving forward. But given that we had that conversation, I wanted to talk to Harold a little bit more about who he is, what his background is, and some of the things that he's working on as it relates to blockchain. So let's kind of go back to origin story here, Harold. How did you get involved in technology in the first place?
Okay, well, I'll say that technology is my hobby. It's not even my job. That's what really makes it really cool for me. So I enjoy it so passionately. I'm sitting in front of a system right now. It has 4 monitors in front of me because I have so many things going on at one time. But I actually started out writing software for a third-party integrator for IBM. Was so good at it, I actually started writing machine code on the mid-range systems, of which now it's embedded into their mid-range systems and their Linux platforms. And so that's kind of where I got that's where I jumped off the edge on that. But I've been in technology ever since, creating lots of relationships across the technology portfolio, all of which anyone in technology would know all these names. If not, that's fine too. But that's where we got it started, and that's where we are today. Now, the passion for what I'm doing and why, everybody always has a why, right? And usually the whys are motivated by either frustration or anger, right? And I try to stay away from anger. It's not a good thing. But just frustration and the fact of the complexity of getting things done. And this is just very clearly that same type of story. So originally I spun up a couple of different companies to address blockchain and dealing with blockchain, quantum computing, and artificial intelligence back in 2015. And we just started maturizing into some space, and then actually ran into an issue in trying to purchase real estate. And I saw the complexity and said, I think I can fix that. And
okay, this is really good. So let's pause right here, because I know you can go in 1,001 different directions. Because this podcast is really focused towards the real estate space, I think it was Block AI was the company that you were representing on that particular panel. What is that company, and what are you trying to do with real estate and blockchain?
So Block QAI is a blockchain, quantum computing, and artificial intelligence. And we're bringing all those together into one a product model. And very specifically, that's what spun up the company for real estate that we're executing against. Actually, really building the software for that organization, which we also own.
So you're saying it's a tool for real estate acquisitions, underwriting, disposition. What type of things will this tool be used for?
So this software will be used for, think of anything that you could ever do to real estate on its behalf, either act on its behalf or act as the owner of, or act as the government entity in the management of, or act in the funding sources for financial actions or transactions that occur on that asset. Also note, I haven't said anything about tokenization. We can get there, but just not yet. So this particular application has 3 pillars. The first pillar is the buy-sell, everything that encompasses the buy-sell transaction and all parties that are part of that transaction itself. The operate, again, the operation of that asset and the generation of revenue, and where we actually have algorithms where we're able to discover new revenue that has never been seen before for commercial real estate. Oh, and by the way, new revenue that residential homeowners have never been able to optimize or even.
Give me an example of what that means, that new revenue.
So from a commercial perspective, we all know how you can generate revenue on a commercial asset. That's through the tenants, the operation of it, and some things. But we have algorithms and patents on the process of generating new revenue, and through data sharing with both financial institutions, state, government, county, city institutions, and between asset owners in the commercial space. So we have a myriad of what we call as revenue opportunity, but we're also taking that, and when we launch this year in commercial, very quickly after that, we'll be launching in residential in the same capacity, aiding in the expedition of buying and selling property. Now, our vision is to where you'll be able to buy a commercial piece of property in under 7 hours, and that's from title search to title transfer.
Okay, pause. That was a lot. So you're saying you can actually transact, because the normal commercial real estate, closing can take 3 months, if not longer, to actually close. Part of that is, the funding from the bank. Part of that is if you're doing a syndication, getting the commitments, et cetera, from the investors, the LPs, GPs, et cetera. And it could take longer in certain situations. 7 hours.
Yes, that's our vision. We're moving to a 7-hour model. We've done analysis, and we've worked with CBRE. We actually met with their chief operating officer and their chief information officer at the same time. And we originally were only going to meet for about 45 minutes because I was really kind of capturing to see if they'd want to partner with us on this journey. We were originally going to be there for 45 minutes. We ended up being there for 4.5 hours. And at the end of it, they said, Harold, we can't partner with you. You're going to annihilate our operating model. But they said some of the numbers, because the chief operating officer was crunching some numbers, and very quickly realized that they could realize a 12% CapEx increase and a 68% operational decrease in the transaction of buying and selling property. So that's just the internal financials.
Okay. My mind is blown. I got to pause you right there, because what this, now you mentioned that commercial first and then residential second. I'm struck by what has recently happened in the market, right? Specifically for residential real estate. There's been a recent settlement with the National Association of Realtors and other people. Okay, you're laughing. For everybody else who's watching this, you probably have heard about the recent settlement that the National Association of Realtors has had. Essentially, when an agent is selling a property, and they go to the seller and say, hey, we're going to sell this property, we're going to put this property on the market. The fee, in order to do that, some would say, okay, it's going to be 3% to me, who is the selling agent, and 3% to someone else who's going to find a buyer. That's the buying or cooperating agent. And that's a 6%. And all of that 6% comes out of your pocket, Mr. Seller. And I think that the settlement kind of turned that upside down and around. And there's just been a lot of speculation about what that's going to do to the residential market. Let me get your thoughts on that settlement, and before your solution comes along, what are your thoughts about what's about to happen?
Well, it's about time, quite frankly, right? So I will tell you, this software solution we're building, it eradicates all the intermediaries in the equation. We only see 4 key stakeholders in the transaction of any real estate property, commercial, residential, doesn't matter. We only see the buyer, the seller, the government entity, which is the steward of the deed and title and all the litigation associated with that title, and then the funding source. And we don't care about what funding source it is. They go through accreditation in their own behalf, and then they do verification, validation that they can actually fund deals. I don't want to sit around and wait for syndication to pull the money together. Either they got it or they don't, and they can be part of the equation or not, but there will be no delay. So if you're a syndicate, have your cash ready for you come into this ecosystem, because deals will be queued in for you to consume. You cannot wait. They're time sensitive and everything.
So for some, it sounds like crowdfunding, but is it crowdfunding or no?
Well, no, it's not crowdfunding because
Got it.
our funding sources, pick a funding source, any funding source is and can be integrated into this ecosystem. We call it an ecosystem because it's not a single platform. We integrate into the state level, the county level, and the city level. We do data sharing with with the property owners and those entities. We're able to, in real time, do title transfers. This is where it gets phenomenal. And we're in a pilot program, working on a pilot program right now with a few counties here in Texas. We are launching in Texas, and it's very covert. I will not say their names.
Thank you.
But they're seeing high degrees of efficiency in what we're producing and providing. We're minimizing their tech stack while integrating into ours. And the title plants are upset because now the title plants become irrelevant.
That's what I've been saying. I have been talking about how blockchain, and I'm going to take a rabbit hole just to make sure that everybody understands what I'm talking about with blockchain. What, in your opinion, is blockchain? What is it, and what does it do?
So let me keep it very simple for people that are buying and selling real estate, right? Every time you buy a piece of real estate asset, you have to go build this file cabinet of information about that asset. You have to hang on to that, and that information is usually valid. You only care about that when you're buying and or selling. Blockchain is becoming, or is in our ecosystem, a archive of permanent information, a kind of like a bank ledger of all transactions that has ever occurred on that property, period, end of statement. It doesn't matter. If you add it in, and it's all, as the network looks at it, a network of participants that need to know, AKA the county, the funding source, the buyer, that's three. So we have a good consensus there. Then we're able to verify and validate that information. And if you had third-party integrators that are like contractors coming to do work, there's another one. So now you have four that are looking at it and validate it. But what we're doing is we're maintaining a historical timeline, if you would, of anything that's ever happened on that real estate property. We are taking land titles into the digital ledger technology space. So titles will be at that level at the county. And I can tell you things we've done at the state level through the Texas Blockchain Council. I'm one of the original founders of the Texas Blockchain Council. The president of the Texas Blockchain Council is an advisor to our company. So I can keep going.
Okay, this is again mind blown, and I've said that before. That title, the whole purpose of having title insurance when you're purchasing a property is to ensure that the chain of title, right, the ownership that has passed from this person to this person for the last 30 or 50 years is intact.
Yep.
But having this stuff on the blockchain, which is an immutable, meaning it can't be changed, ledger, is like the bee's knees. Go ahead, Harold.
Yeah.
You're about to say something.
Here's what's really cool, right? So I talked with the, we're working and we have banks integrated into this ecosystem. And some of the banks I've talked to said, what is it that you need that would say you don't need title insurance, right? They said, Harold, if you could provide us a clear title for 25 to 35 years, depending upon the property, we don't need title insurance. We're good to go. So I don't think that's from a go live date. I think that's from a maturization model, and we'll get there, right, pretty quickly. But then we feel that title insurance will become a thing of the past. Not initially, certainly not initially. I think we'll have a material impact on the industry holistically. I think organizations like CoStar that take your data and sell it will start dissipating. They'll be the Blockbuster, we'll be the Netflix, if you would.
Gotcha.
And well, that's really kind of cool because, if you think about it, the real estate property is the property owner's property. Why don't they make money on it? That's why our algorithms show you how to make money. We're just the stewards to aid in the data sharing of the information that you wish to share, right? And the same repository of information where you can maintain all that information. So there goes Yardy. Yardy's out the door.
Right.
Right. So we're really talking about bringing it all in and taking those technologies and leveraging blockchain to really kind of elevate this. Now, I've only talked about commercial. I haven't talked about mineral rights. I haven't talked about air rights. Those are all part and parcel of the same ecosystem. I haven't talked about residential. Residential is really cool because imagine you're buying a $250,000 home by your own acknowledgement. Those transaction fees from agent and broker, both sides of the equation, buyers, sellers, on a $250,000 home, that's about $15,000, right? And that's just that piece.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, we've all lived it. And this is where my frustration came from. And I said, I'm done. We're fixing this. What if I told you that, all in from buying a residential home would be a flat fee, not even a percentage. And I would probably say it's a third of what you would pay, 1/3 of what you would pay just on the buyer seller collective number.
Wow.
Right.
And how, and the question becomes, okay, it's 1/3, but how long now? Because you've reduced the commercial side, down to 7 hours. How quickly can you transact,
same thing, residential 7 hours. Now, there's some variables we got to get lined up, and we're working with the bank, and we're working with the Texas, the president of the Texas Banking Commission. We're working with lots of folks, the Secretary of State, the Railroad Commission, the General Land Office. We're working with all these entities that are related here in Texas. We've been invited to come to Florida, Arizona, and some other states. We're not ready yet. But when we do, and when we launch, we believe that we'll have a very material impact. And what's really cool is if you could buy a resident, think about the last home you bought. Anybody listening, think really hard about how much you spent to buy that home outside the cost of the home, right? I can tell you what I paid. Closing costs increase. They throw the numbers up the last minute, whatever it is. Everybody's dealt with it because that's a money grab. But we're doing flat fee on residential, and it'll be between $3,800 and $5,000. I haven't landed on a firm number, but that's it. And again, that's from search to title transfer, and everything in between is covered within that cost. So there's no additional charge. And in addition, we'll show the residential owners how to make money. We had one pilot where we tried this in the Dallas subdivision. The gentleman's home was worth $660-ish thousand. There were 750 homes in the development. We showed him that he would be able to generate revenue in an annual year around $3,200 to $3,800 a year in revenue, owning your own home. And that's not being an Airbnb. It's just living in your home and following some of these unique characteristics that we articulate. And he came back, he said, Harold, do you realize that's about 2/3 of my tax you just eradicated? I said, okay, great. That's a win, right? So that's more capital into the homeowner's pocket. And it's not in like the Redfins, the Zillows, the whatever, right? Yeah, we'll materially impact those guys as well.
Yeah.
Right?
And
we don't charge to list. We don't charge to list. The only thing we do is we charge to transact. So you're buying or selling, that's Roger. If you're running your commercial or residential, there's an operation subscription fee. It's not crazy. It's not anything like you'd see at CoStar. I mean, it's like if it's 200, I think the number, and I hope my CFO didn't kill me, but if it's over $200, I'd be hard pressed. And that's a year, by the way.
$200 a year?
Residential. Right? I mean, your HOA fees are more than that. But anyway, it's all kinds of things. Taxation disputes, automated taxation disputes. So your tax, you always want to raise. But wait,
homestead exemptions that people want to, those things are in your area.
Yep. Well, what's really cool is, some of the things we're doing is we're privy to, we get the opportunity to really kind of look at how the assessor district does the taxation models. And we're showing them how to refine them, make them absolute per home as opposed to a broad swath calculation. So you're getting to a real valuation as opposed to an unclear valuation on your taxes. We're having that kind of impact. And
go ahead, Harold. I am speechless because this is like the silver bullet type thing. And I mean, if you're able to pull this off, and again, you said you're in a pilot already with several counties in Texas, right? Yeah, this is game changer.
Well, we're also got projects going out with banks as well. So we're doing local, not regional or national, but local banks, right? So the local banks are very hungry. We're providing them new revenue streams and queues of deals that they could participate in that meet their criteria, and they can accept it very quickly, right? And the commitments we get from those guys is that they, if it lands in their queue and they do take it on, they act. They don't wait. They act, right? I mean, we've even automated escrow accounts spin ups, state spin ups, corporation filings, all this through integration to the state, the counties, and all these different things. And so it's a wonderful thing.
I could even see from a banking perspective, you all building out, even mortgage servicing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
the mortgage servicing, I did some work some years ago in default mortgage servicing.
Yeah.
Right up until the fall of the 2008,
Yeah.
I was working in mortgage servicing at a company that sold servicing decision workout systems, if you will, for banks. And so there were several banks that were part of our portfolio that no longer exist because of 2008.
Yeah.
But I saw it. In August of 2007 is when I got laid off from that company, because one of my clients, a bigger part of my client, they lost like 50% of their revenue like overnight. So, I started seeing it. But go ahead.
So it's very, and by the way, in 2008, I was the executive vice president of technology for Citigroup. So I had my office in Midtown Manhattan. I'd fly from Frisco, Texas to Manhattan weekly, right? I'd fly out on a Monday morning, fly back on a Friday night. So I was very aware of that, very aware of the CDOs, all the different manipulations they were doing with those, the real estate. I identified the city where they were having some problems and they had some catastrophic challenges. I won't go into it, but they took my advice on a couple of things. But ultimately, I left city because it just wasn't it wasn't where it's supposed to be, and that's a good thing. But and as we continue down this path, as we continue to maturize these things, and once we get to the state of the digital land registry through a distributed ledger, then we're going to move into the tokenization. And this is where the banks are not happy with me. And I'll show this. Because through the digitization of the title and deed, which that's where we're moving, once we start unloading the counties, and they're aware of that, this is where they get revenue sharing opportunities as well from the taxation purposes. You'll be able to self-fund your own improvements in your own real estate asset. So if you want to remodel your kitchen, as an example, we allow you to digitize that. You would digitize it through constraints of the funding source and the county to make sure metrics are measured, right? This way, we don't have to go through the SEC for filing, for them having any visibility into the tokenization of your real estate asset. You'll be able, and we have patents on these things, so this is really kind of cool. But you'll be able to do self-funding where you won't need a bank to do like your kitchen remodel. You'll tokenize just enough, or what you feel is enough, to do that remodeling work in your kitchen, as an example. Take that fund and you actually put it back into the asset, and the asset value increases, right? So it's self-feeding, if you would, but you didn't have to pay any points or a loan. You wouldn't have
fees,
because
normally, if you're going to, from a residential perspective, and even in the commercial side, if you're going to do it, let's just talk residential though, you're going to have to go talk with a mortgage broker, right? Who's going to refinance your house, right? So you can do a cash out refi for a lump sum, or you're going to do a home equity line of credit, a second mortgage type thing. And, you're going to, it's going to take another 30 to 45 days in order to make that happen. And there's a lot involved. It's going to have to be an appraisal, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But we're talking, go ahead.
Yeah, just tokenizing the title or deed, and just take that fractional token. Say you need $20,000, you have a $250,000 home, right? It's less than 10% of the value of the home, but you've taken that capital and you've built it back into the asset. You've gone from a $250,000 value asset to a $300,000 asset, just through that improvement. And that all happens inside the operating model, the pillar that we put into the company.
let me go back to what you mentioned before, because, I was going to ask about how you were going to handle this on the commercial side with respect to the SEC.
Yeah.
So you mentioned, because tokenization, generally, if there is management along with the sale of real estate, those two things come together, right? Like in an apartment building, then you have pretty much you have a security, and that security is then governed by the SEC, et cetera. So help me understand from the residential side, and then also from a commercial side, how are you working with maneuvering with those laws?
So there's two. So that's an SEC, right? Because if you're tokenizing the title and deed, what does the SEC need to know? You're basically just splitting ownership at the title level, right?
Okay.
You see where I'm going, right? And
I,
so you split the title, and it's basically you're selling a part of your house. It's not.
you're selling a part of your house to whom? Is you have a secondary market?
It would be a secondary market you would go to and just say, I'm tokenizing this. I'm looking for some capital in this example, right? And someone would buy it. And it's just a funds transfer and the transfer that asset transfer, right? So let's say I have a $250,000 home. I'm trying to get $20,000. So that's about 10%, roughly, right? So I'll say I'm going to tokenize 10% of my title. Who would like to buy 10% ownership in the title, right? At the title level. This is important to understand, right? So it's basically another signature on the title is all it means, right?
Not on the home itself, not on the actual asset itself, but on the title.
Yeah. So if I go to sell it, then you're going to be a reciprocal of the value that it gets sold on. You get your money returned to you, right?
So then what about monthly payments? So now, because if I got $250,000 house and a $20,000, renovation that I'm going to add on to it, I'm now at $270,000 that I owe on the property,
Well, wait, you don't owe that $20,000. You sold that 10% off to someone that wanted to buy it, right?
Got it.
They just put money into the equation to allow you to do that renovation.
So then
no loan extension there.
Got it. So then what about my mortgage payment? Is my mortgage payment going to change? Or
You own the responsibility of taking care of the mortgage as the owner. The rules are being defined, right? So the funding sources are going to say you must maintain. I'll give you an example. One of the conversations, you must maintain controlling interest in the asset. That's one. Two, you're 100% accountable for the mortgage payment. No one else. Your name's on it, not theirs, right? So you see where that's going. And also from the county perspective, you are 100% responsible for the taxes. If you don't, you'll run through that path. You see,
got you. So then when I'm paying my mortgage payment, which is the same that I was paying on the 250,000, it splits though. It splits into the taxes going to the county. It splits into the principal that's left of the
principal
230
plus interest. Principal and interest, the funding source. Well, some people, add their taxes to their mortgage. I don't, and I can tell you 1,000 reasons why you shouldn't, but I'm not a financial advisor. But I always tend to pay my taxes independent of my mortgage, so it keeps separation because the numbers are never always the same. They fluctuate year over year. You can track them better here. But anyway, so you'll pay your normal mortgage, principal, interest, you pay your normal taxes, whatever they are.
But how about this other person who now invested that $20,000? How do they get paid?
They get paid on change of control. So if you sell the property,
got it.
You sell the property only when you sell the property, right? Or you would be able to invoke a reacquisition of their ownership based on the current value of the asset.
Got it.
And that's where the county would come in and say the county would say, when you did it, it was worth $250,000. It doesn't matter that he put 20,000 in. They don't really care. They're going to look at it and go, well, now it's worth $300,000. But because they own 10% of that asset, they get $30,000.
Got it.
It's simple. It's simple. It's a simple process. Quite frankly, it's not even complicated. We don't need to overcomplicate it. And
no, I'm trying to
look at legalities of these things too, as well.
Yeah, I'm bringing my understanding of what I think I understand in residential and to the new paradigm that you are creating with your company. Now, on the commercial side, and got tons of questions, but I'm gonna try to wrap it up so we can get to the next part, because you're doing a couple other things as well. But on the commercial side, with respect to the SEC and say syndications, because we do syndications a lot, right? On the apartment side, how is your platform working with the SEC on that?
So the syndication, the syndication arm of this whole thing will function as it functions. It doesn't need to change, and I don't need to change it. That's a financial entity that I'm not in the business of touching financial entities. I see them as abstract connectors. That syndicate is just buying that asset.
So you're not interested in moving some of those things to, say, DAOs or DAO, which is distributed autonomous organizations.
So, that sounds like I'll say that's not part of the initial plan, because see, when I look at this, right, that would create complexity. I'm not saying I wouldn't try to address it.
No, I understand. No, I got you. I'm with you.
Because the syndicate, the real optic on the syndicate, when we get to this point, a certain level of maturization, I'll ask the question, what's the value of a syndication? What's the value of a syndicate? Because if I'm starting to inject a whole list of funding options, from PE, home offices, to crowdfunding, online funding, you pick them, right? What is the real value of a syndicate?
Right.
I'm not questioning. That's just a sincere question, right?
Yeah.
And so it's very interesting. There's so many pieces of this puzzle, and we've been working on this, believe it or not, since 2018. And the reason it's taken this amount of time is it's not about writing an application. I could write an application in 18 months. That's a no-brainer. And a lot of people have, and I've talked to a lot of people that have. But what they don't do is they don't do the legwork to figure out what they need to connect into this and who they need to connect into this, and the relationships you have to establish and the teams you have to bring in and the people that need to be involved and the conversations that have to be had and the integrations that need to be thought through. They haven't taken that level of effort. We are not what I call quick to cash organization.
Got it.
We are a journey, not a destination. We have been called by a few folks have seen us as being the equivalent of that online retailer that everybody knows by just their name. Mm-hmm. But they're looking at us to say that, Harold, that's you and more. What you're building is that and more. Because when I say we address everything related to property, I touched on it. We also deal with mineral rights and air rights. So we'll be able to address air rights and the compensation of drones flying over your house. Ooh, didn't think about that, but we are. And so, there's all kinds of revenue we're finding for people that own property, period. Right. And really taking that property and giving it back to the people that own it. And I'm really fed up with people stealing your property. I'm really fed up with people trying to aid in the participation of buying and selling your property and really not doing anything. Now, this is not discrediting everyone, but the bulk of it. And I can say that confidently because I've experienced it. I've not had an experience where I felt value being brought to the equation. So all the third-party intermediaries, in our view, are eradicated. We don't need them. Right. And you can think of all of them. And I promise you we'll touch them ultimately, but not initially. Yeah. And, we like to find paths forward for folks. I know there's going to be a lot of realtors and brokers that are going to have a significant impact into this. Yeah. I believe a path forward for all those resources to aid in this transition. It'll be fun because at the end of the day, it's really going to be about really finding better ways of getting things done. Yeah. Pretty intense.
Yeah.
And we haven't even talked about develop, and I haven't even told you what the fee is to buy a piece of commercial property. When you hear that, you'll fall out of your chair again. Right?
Let's save that for those who are definitely interested in potentially working with you. But so if they were interested in potentially getting a part of this solution, is it blockqai.com?
So that's the software development company that I have. The company they probably need to reach out to would be something that's just Harold at arealblockchainsolution.com. I know it's kind of lengthy, right? We're going to go through a branding and marketing after we launch, and we're launching in North Texas, right in the DFW area, and then we'll launch statewide And as we launch statewide, we'll launch residential in the DFW. And then after that, we'll launch residential across the state of Texas. So it's going to be powerful. It's going to be exciting, and it's going to be one transaction at a time. We'll see. I think once people start seeing it, we will not even be advertising what we do. I'm not going to spend any money marketing, not a dime, not a dollar, to no one. Only because I think when people see value and actually can measure that value, they'll gravitate toward it very quickly.
Exactly.
And they'll most likely share it with their friends. They'll say, you got to look at this. You're not going to believe it.
Yeah, so one of the things that I learned when I was teaching the designation, the Certified Investor Agent Specialist, some years ago, is we were talking to agents about how to work with investors at some point. And one of the key statements that we said is that you have to show value. The reason why most investors bounce around from realtor to realtor and actually use multiple realtors is they're looking for the one that actually can provide them and give them value. And it seems like this potential solution or group of solutions can provide most of that value. And maybe there's one or two people that may be an account manager, as it were, that can help, guide you through this. That will be the new agent, if you will, rather than what we've known in the past. So let me ask some of the other things that you're doing that are really, really important. I mean, I'd love to hear more about why quantum computing, AI, and what you're doing with that and blockchain. But
Yep.
If there's something else that you have that's the bee's knees, please talk about it.
The bee's knees, man, I haven't heard that in a while, but I love it. So what we're doing on the quantum side is BlockEye is part of the National Quantum Initiative that was originally launched in 2016 for quantum metrics modeling. We're writing and partnering with some very senior folks like the co-founder of PGP Encryption and also, writing algorithms for quantum encryption, where we're anticipating being one of the first quantumly encrypted blockchains out there. We have a model and a patent for all these things as well. We're working with some of the leaders in the physics department from Dartmouth, MIT, we're actually working with some of the national laboratories as well, Los Alamos and Sands and Green Oaks. Or Oak Ridge, I'm sorry. So, and some of those physicists are advisors on the BlockEye team as well. And the gentleman, I won't say his last name, his first name is Robert. He was the gentleman that identified quantum supremacy for Google. So now he's also working in tandem with him on a very sizable project for room temperature quantum systems. So we've got a lot of R&D going on, and this has all been self-funded. So through my own pocket, which is fun and exciting. And so as Tony Stark would say, we're in hardware mode in some cases.
And you are the next Tony Stark, I guess, and sitting at the center of a lot of this stuff. As myself, I have a master's degree in computer science. And again, I'm a project manager for the most part. But from what you're telling me and the people that you're involved in, again, this is another mind blown. This is going to be crazy.
Well, it's kind of interesting, right? So I've actually had conversations with Ray Kurzweil a few times. I don't know if you know who he is.
For everybody else, share who Ray is, please.
But he's a futurist, right? So he's a gentleman that just has the innate ability to get a good optic on what will become. He asked me what I thought. I shared with him some thoughts. He said, Harold, I think you're right. And I said, well, let's see. So I'm not going to divulge those details, but it's fun. We do a lot of banter like that. So, and then as it comes to artificial intelligence, yes, we will have a lot of artificial intelligence built into our systems. I won't go into the details of them, but we'll be able to do through some advanced LLMs, language learning models. We'll be able to do a proper evaluation of your property through relationships with the county, state, and funding sources. We'll take all those metrics and feed them into a model, which will give you a current day evaluation, but it'll also give you what we call a care and feeding model. Meaning if you're looking for a certain return of investment, you tell us what type of return of investment you're looking for, what you'd like to achieve and when. We'll be able to give you a list of actions and timelines that things have to be done in certain stages to help ensure you're able to hit that value. And we're also be able to, in real time, do demographic analysis because of our integration with cities and counties and states and even countries. So we'll take economics into the algorithm of understanding. We'll be able to see the ebb and flow of the population from state to state, county to county, city to city, to aid in the optimization of property selection.
Harold, this is like Disney World, man. You got to be kidding me. You're doing this stuff now. You and your teams are working on this.
Yeah, we're all working on this right now. Yeah, and they're all in different various stages because we only have so many people. But again, this has all been self-funded. This is why it's been taking us 6 years to put all these things together. So it's understanding the processes that go on in the state, the county, and all the different departmental areas, and we have to do the analysis on every state. And so that we don't have, we've even thought about how to make sure that real estate transactions stay very local, right? When we deploy across state lines, it will not be a state line deployment. It will be an independent state deployment to intermediate the interstate commerce clause on financial transactions in ecosystems. So the federal government doesn't have the opportunity to really kind of get into your privacy. And we're real big on privacy. And when I mean big, I mean big. We're trying to really make sure people have the ability to share and show what they want and what they choose to, not what they're told to. And what's really cool is we don't have any keys to the kingdom on the back end, the owners do. And that's what's really powerful as well. No government overrides in this. It's really dependent upon the property owners. Just think freedom and liberty and the ability to really kind of be the person that you want to be for the assets and things you own. And that's where we really want to go with this. And we're having degrees of success.
This is unreal. This is unreal. But I mean, technology. So for a lot of people, we've been hearing, AI is going to change the world. AI is going to change the world. And people are like, no. This podcast right here, if you listen to this again and you bring some other people who know something about AI, know something about blockchain, know something about finance, and you have them listen to this particular, what he is saying, what they're building, this will change the way that we function and what we think is. It's almost like the cotton gin. It's almost like the.
Wait, I have to tell you something. I have to tell you something. I'm a descendant of Eli Whitney.
You know what? We're gonna have to go. I gotta fact check this thing. Yeah. I've gotta fact check this.
Wait. I gotta tell you this too. I'm a multi-generational Texan, so I'm sitting right about seventh generation Texan. So
okay. Okay, one more question. One more question about what you're doing, and I think we'll land that. This to date is in definitely the top 3 podcasts that I've done in terms of me fully being floored in.
Well, I haven't really floored you yet. There's more. There's always more. I haven't talked about the development side of how we aid in the development of real estate property, right? In every aspect of it.
Okay, that DBR. I think that's what the name of it is. That's your university. Talk to me about DBR.
Oh, it's DBU actually.
DBU. I'm sorry. Talk to me about that.
Well, first of all, it's not my university. I'm just blessed with the opportunity to be part of some really great things. Like I'll be speaking at Dallas Baptist University this year on their artificial intelligence panel on the where it's going and the ethics of it. So that's fun and exciting. I've done that already for a few different organizations, and I'll be doing it again. I think artificial intelligence will be the next large opportunity. Although I think people are behind the curve on a lot of folks, and I'll even suggest they're behind the curve on us. So ChatGPT doesn't have anything on what we're building. It's a fun tool. Let me get, I've played with it to check it out. It's a fun tool. It can do some things, but it lives within a box. And this box is really big. It's trying to encompass everything. And where we're trying to be focused is only in real estate, only in the management of it, only in the operations of it, only in the relationships around it. And that really allows us to really kind of grow that quite quickly. I think that itself will be very fundamentally earth-shaking when people see the depth of analysis that we'll be able to provide related to any type of property. I really can't really walk through enough of it. It would take a very long time to cover everything.
Trust me, if you are able to hit at least 25% of what you said already, your kids will be living well for a long time.
Oh, well, you haven't heard about our nonprofit where we believe that on every 7th year, you should be debt free. And so we're going to provide an opportunity for people to live that life.
The Jubilee, right? Oh. Or the Jubilee is every 50 years. So that's the 7 of the 7 plus 1, right?
Yeah,
so that's Jubilee. But I got you. Every 7 years. I got you. I understand that.
Can you imagine living in a home with no debt on your house? That'd be wonderful, right?
It'd be amazing. It's game changing, especially for communities, underserved communities where having a house or owning a house is not a part of normal everyday thing, let alone having the privilege burden, if you will, of being able to pay for that. But then to get to the 7th year and then that to be wiped out is amazing.
Deuteronomy 15, so
there you go.
That's where we're going with that as well. So we have a lot of different types of things. We're very excited about the opportunity to help the military, single families. We know we contribute to a lot of single family events around here. We're very big on local community. I think we can be better, stronger locally than we can.
So you're taking your vitamins, Harold? Are you taking your vitamins and everything so you can stay healthy? Because this is amazing.
Yeah, no, we're very excited, but we're very patient. We're very patient. We're methodical. We're not rushing. We don't want to do that. We've got to do it right, and we want to be able to give people proper control on their own destiny, not ours. So it's exciting.
Excellent. Well, how can people get in contact with you again?
Yeah, just you can drop me an email. You can find me on the LinkedIn. I will say that I personally don't get on the LinkedIn. Someone manages that for me. But you can drop me an email, and I don't always read my own email either. Time is something I don't have a lot of. But Harold at a realblockchainsolution.com. I know it's kind of wordy, but it'll get there. You can reach me there. And again, yeah.
And we always have one last question for everybody who comes, and we ask, what is the one piece of advice that you would use to give somebody the boot? Because we're Red Boot LLC. What piece of advice would you give someone to spur them on to doing the next thing?
Nothing easy is done quickly. And being methodical, being thoughtful, being driven, and being sincere are the characteristics I feel will help drive you to a success. Don't rush to quick cash because it burns up fast. And understand life is a journey, not a destination.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. And we look forward to all of the positive things that will come out of your think tank and your conglomeration of these businesses and things that you're doing. And if there's anything that we can do here at Red Boot to assist you, please feel free to reach out. Okay?
Absolutely. God bless.
God bless.